Guys, welcome back to Calls Before Symptom. I am your guest host, Urban. Tonight, James is out at the gold mine, getting some much needed rest and relaxation. Um, 1 second, I'm getting a bit of an echo. Cut that out. Oh, it's because I got a stream open on the other tab. There we go. That's fixed. James is out at the gold mines. We got a good going for you tonight. We're going to talk about the veil between conspiracy theorists and what I term coincidence theorists. Everyone knows them, everyone loves them. Tonight is the 30th for me, 30th of September 2024 on the West Coast. It is the 29th. Guys, we're going to get your blood boiling before we get started. Go grab a drink, grab a snack. We will be back in just a moment. Guys, we live in a fallen world, but at least for tonight, we have each other. Hang tight. Don't go anywhere. everybody. It's been a while since I've seen you all. I'm glad to see you guys again. James is out having a nice time gold mining. Puts a lot of work into the show. I know he deserves a break. James and I are thankful for each and every one of you guys. Right before I started the stream tonight, I actually came across something which I wanted to flash up and show you guys because it made me think of everyone here doing this guest hosting. Here it is. Let me go ahead and show that to you real quick. Yeah, let me see if I can make that a little bit smaller so you can see it. It's weird how some people undermine having 12 viewers on Twitch or Rumble. 12 people chilling with you in real time at the same time. Social media has really ruined some people's mindsets. And that's the way that I see this with all of you tonight. And I'm sure James does as well. No matter how many of you guys tune in, 10, 20, 30, 40, as long as you're not a DARPA bot, as long as you're a real person, I'm glad to hang out with you. I'm glad to see everyone again, see the regulars. We got a good show for you tonight. This is a short essay that I actually put together a little while back. It's on my Substack, but I'm going to present it to you tonight because I think it's a good argument. Well, it's not necessarily an argument. It's a little bit of a highlight piece. It's called Conspiracy Theorist versus Coincidence Theorist. Everyone knows a coincidence theorist. You know, the people who wake up in the morning and go outside, go to work, and look around, turn on the news, and somehow all these years, past 10 years, they've looked around and they still think it's a coincidence. And I unfortunately, I do know a few of these people myself, people in my own family. It sucks, but you learn that you can't wake anyone up. The people who have eyes, they'll see it. The people who have ears, they'll hear it. So I'm thankful for everyone that's here tonight with me. And we're going to get into it. So the goal of the essay is to highlight the thin, subtle veil that separates the world of conspiracy theorists from that of the non-conspiracy theorist, aka a coincidence theorist. We'll first begin by highlighting and defining our terms such that we'll be on the same page. So, some people use the dictionary. I use Black's Law Dictionary because if you want to know what words really mean, you need not just one, but probably a few different print versions of these legal dictionaries because the words have completely different meanings when you look at a legal dictionary. So for conspiracy theorists, conspiracy, we're not looking up conspiracy theorists, just conspiracy, so that when we talk about a conspiracy, we know what we're talking about. So this is from Black's Law 5th, page 293. It's a loaded definition. A conspiracy is defined as a combination or confederacy between two or more persons formed for the purpose of committing by their joint efforts some unlawful or criminal act, or some act which is lawful in itself but becomes unlawful when done by the concerted action of the conspirators, or for the purpose of using criminal or unlawful means to the commission of an act not in and of itself unlawful. A person is guilty of conspiracy with another person or persons to commit a crime if, with the purpose of promoting or facilitating in its commission, he, A, agrees with such other person or persons that they or one or more of them will engage in conduct which constitutes such crime, or an attempt or solicitation to commit such crime, or B, agrees to aid such other person or persons in the planning or commission of such crime, or of an attempt or solicitation to commit such crime. A conspiracy may be a continuing one. Actors may drop out and others may drop in. The details of operation may change from time to time. The members need not know each other or the part played by others. A member need not know all the details of the plan or the operations. He must, however, know the purpose of the conspiracy and agree to become a party to a plan to effectuate that purpose. So, that was the definition, the legal definition of a conspiracy. And in the words of George Carlin, one of the greatest political commentators, I think, that's ever been around, wherever interests converge, a conspiracy is irrelevant. Essentially, that means wherever two people have something mutually beneficial to gain, there's always going to be a conspiracy. They're always going to work together. They don't necessarily need to plan. What'd you say? What we are? I don't understand what you said, Kimmy. Um, yeah, George Carlin said it best. Wherever interests converge, conspiracy is irrelevant. Meaning, wherever two or more people have converging interests or a situation in which would be mutually beneficial to them, we need not consider whether they'll conspire, as such has already been proven time and time again as one of the most fundamental laws of man. Man will always work with other people to further his own interest. So wherever interests converge, a conspiracy is irrelevant. So, in my own words, the working definition will define the term conspiracy theorist to be one who does not readily accept information from those in positions of perceived authority, those who question what they're told, and moreover, those who take it upon themselves to do research and digging required to find the truth in all things. Oh, yeah, that's one of the greatest tricks in the book. For instance, now that you brought that up, uh, for you, those of you who know Fritz Springmeier's work, they put the Bloodlines of the Illuminati book, and they have an article. It's on the CIA's website. Apparently, they found air quotes. They found his book on the bookshelf of Osama bin Laden. So do with that as you will. I think it's a great way for them to easily discredit his work. Oh, terrorists were reading that. There you go. Just like you said, yeah, it's true. So let's begin. It's a great segue into that. The myth that the CIA invented the term conspiracy theorist. So there's a little bit of truth and a little bit of um, I can't say lie, but just not the full truth. So, did they invent the term conspiracy theorist? It does not look like they invented the term. However, I do believe that they created the false association. Let's associate the term conspiracy theorist with, like you said, terrorist, unlawful activity, etc. So, um, the claim was that the terms conspiracy theory and conspiracy theorist were created by the CIA following the assassination of JFK as a way of discrediting people who doubted the government's official reports. So the truth is that they didn't create the term. They did, in my opinion, associate that term with the JFK assassination. The facts: following the National Archives release last month of an additional 12,879 documents related to Kennedy's death, interest in long-standing myths about the president's 1963 shooting has resurged on social media. One of these myths is what scholars call a meta-conspiracy theory, the belief that the CIA, as part of an unproven cover-up, coined the term conspiracy theory to discredit people who accuse the CIA of orchestrating Kennedy's killing. It says in the article that the term actually traces back to the time of the American Civil War and actually the assassination of another president, James Garfield. So it would be safe to conclude that while it wasn't invented for the JFK assassination, it was thrown around in opposition or response to appeals from places of authority. So it would seem that the term conspiracy theorist from the very get-go has been associated with this appeal to authority, and we're getting ready to talk about that more. But we're going to define our non-conspiracy theorist or coincidence theorist. Simply put, a non-conspiracy theorist for the course of this essay is defined as any individual who readily accepts information given to them by those in positions of authority. Some of these authorities may be the government, the news media, perceived experts, doctors and lawyers, and other professionals. So, one of the most important studies ever conducted, you guys might have heard of this, I sure hope you have, because it's a foundational study in modern psychology, especially in the modern world, the Milgram experiment. The Milgram experiment, I believe, was done in the 50s. I probably should have wrote that down. The experiments found that a very high proportion of subjects would obey the instructions given from a position of authority. So the idea of the experiment was that they would bring in the test subject and they would say, okay, we have a person in another room. They were not, I don't believe they were able to see the other person in the room, just hear them through a speaker or something. And you're going to ask them some questions. If they get the question right, everything's good. If they don't get the question right, you're going to administer a small shock to them. Now, if they get multiple questions wrong, you're going to turn the dial up. You're going to administer the next shock. It's going to get more intensive. So the results of the experiment, and mind you, the guy in the other room wasn't actually being shocked. It was just a blind setup. Said a high proportion of subjects would fully obey the instructions, with every participant going up to 300 volts and 65% going up to the full 450 volts, which the higher voltages, it had like a label on it, something that said danger, harm will be encountered if you turn the dial up this much. So the idea was that they knew that it would be dangerous, quote unquote, dangerous for the person in the other room. But the experiment was testing whether or not people would obey the authority, the doctor in the white lab coat, whether or not they would listen to what they perceived to be an expert and do it anyway. Now, this was right after World War II, and in my research, this was likely motivated by the actions of the Nazis. A lot of soldiers were just following orders. That's one of the greatest excuses that's ever been used. So I was just following orders, and it turns out that 65% of people, the majority of people, are they're going to follow orders coming from authority. Milgram first described his research in a 1963 article in the Journal of Abnormal and Social Psychology, and later discussed his findings in greater depth in his 1974 book, Obedience to Authority, an Experimental View. Using the Milgram experiment as our grounds for the authority bias, with the preconceived notion that the percentages of those who would follow orders from those in perceived positions of authority have only increased since 1961. That's my opinion. We can safely say that the majority of the population is likely within the non-conspiracy theorist camp. So the coincidence theorists are the vast majority, unfortunately. So now that we have our terms conspiracy theorist and coincidence theorist, what I did is I actually pulled some quotations, some excerpts from an older book. It's called The Unseen Hand, an Introduction to the Conspiratorial View of History. So the book's by A. Ralph Epperson. I should have wrote down what year this book came out, but it is an older book. From the introduction, quote, it's quote, wars start when one nation moves into the territory of another. Depressions occur when markets take unexpected downturns. Inflations occur when prices are driven up by shortages. Revolutions start when the people always spontaneously rise up to overthrow the existing government. These are the traditional explanations of historical events. Events happen by accident. There do not seem to be any causes. But this explanation of history leaves gnawing questions in the minds of serious students. Is it possible that government leaders and others planned these events and then orchestrated them to their desired conclusions? Is it possible that even the greatest catastrophes of history were part of this plan? There is an explanation of historical events that answers these questions in the affirmative. It is called the conspiratorial view of history, and it is the alternative to the accidental view, the view that is commonly held today. It is possible, therefore, to summarize the major events of history into two alternative schools of thought. So, along the same lines, you have the accidental view of history, the coincidence view of history. You have the conspiratorial view, and that's what this book's about. So it continues to highlight those. The accidental view of history is that historical events occur by accident for no apparent reason, and rulers are powerless to intervene. On the other hand, the conspiratorial view of history, historical events occur by design. for reasons that are not generally known to the people. James Warburg, in his book The West in Crisis, explains the accidental view as thus, quote, "History is written more by accident than design, often by the wholly irrational acts of madmen," unquote. Another who has offered the accidental view as the explanation of the major events of the world is Zbigniew Brzezinski, President Jimmy Carter's national security advisor. He has written, quote, "History is much more the product of chaos than of conspiracy. Interestingly, policymakers are overwhelmed by events and information." But then there are those who disagree with the positions of Warburg and Brzezinski. One, for instance, was FDR himself, Franklin D. Roosevelt, who certainly saw many monumental events occur during his consecutive administrations. President Roosevelt said, has been quoted as saying, quote, "In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, it was planned that way," unquote. If harmful events are planned, it follows that the people who were about to suffer through the scheduled event would act to prevent the event from occurring if they had known about it in advance. The people expect government to protect them from harmful events. But if the events still occur after the government officials had been expected to prevent them, the government officials have failed in their assigned duties. There are only two explanations as to why they have failed. One, the events overwhelmed them and could not have been prevented. Or two, the events were allowed to occur because the officials wanted them to occur. It is difficult for the casual observer to believe that these incredible events could not have been prevented, as humane people of conscience do not allow harmful events to occur. If a planned and unwanted event is allowed to happen, those who planned the event would have had acted in secret so as to prevent discovery of their plans by those who would be adversely affected. Planners working in secret to plan an event that the people do not wish to occur are, by definition, members of a conspiracy. Webster's defines conspiracy as a combination of people working in secret for an evil or unlawful purpose. Not only must the conspirators work in secret, they must make every effort to ensure that their plans are not made public. The first task of a conspiracy then becomes the convincing of the people that the conspiracy itself does not exist. This makes the task of uncovering the machinations of the conspiracy all that more difficult. Yeah, I just actually read something about a big strike going on at the ports. A bunch of port workers might be potentially getting ready to strike, and it seems like they're downplaying this if it is happening. I haven't heard about it until just tonight. Uh, I think really the only chance that we have as a nation is that we need to work together. I don't care if you're on the left, if you're on the right. I think we need to get out of that dichotomy, that dialectic. We need to work together. We need to band together as uh, what used to be the middle class. Now we're all serfs. We need to band together and speak with our money. People speak with their wallets. Things will change real quick. So there are three ways of exposing a conspiracy. And I'm continuing from the book, The Unseen Hand. This is some of the excerpts I pulled. The first way to expose a conspiracy is for any of the participants in the conspiracy to break with it and to expose his or her involvement. This takes an extremely courageous individual, and that type of exposure is indeed rare. But now that we live in the internet age, you can go online, you can see all kinds of people who at least purport that they were in some degree or the other involved in some facet of the conspiracy. The second group of exposers are those who have unknowingly participated in a conspiratorial planning of an event, but who didn't realize it until later. These individuals, and there aren't many in the history of the world, have also exposed the inner workings of the conspiracy at great peril to themselves. The third method for exposing a conspiracy is for researchers to uncover conspiratorial designs in the events of the past. Your author is one of these researchers, the author of the book, A. Ralph Epperson. Again, this book was written years ago. Now that the internet's come onto the scenes, now that we have almost every book in the world at our disposal, And speaking of, I'll put you guys onto this. Google just came out with what's called Notebook LM. You can upload, PDFs of books, and you can talk to it. It's like an AI, and it'll offer you citations. It'll offer you all kinds of citations and summaries. It's free to use right now. So far, it doesn't seem too restricted. I imagine it will tighten up over time, but it's great. If you want to take a book that's 500 pages and get some bullet points on it, it'll give you the citations. You can just hover over the little bubble and it'll even give you the quote like from the book. It's great. It's very it amazes me. I've showed it to James as well. We're both kind of blown away by it. Hypothetically, if you wanted to, you could read 1,000-page book, or at least summarize it and ask all the questions you want about it within minutes. It's crazy times we live in, guys. It really is. I'm young. I can only imagine, my grandparents, for instance, who are in their 70s, 80s, just, they look out and they see these things. It's just, I can only imagine the way they see it. So, let's see. Epperson's beliefs in a conspiracy. Epperson goes on to outline his position and the position of the book as a whole. So, I'm back into the quote. It will be the position of this book that a conspiracy does indeed occur. So the author of the book is taking the side of the conspiratorial view of history, and that it is extremely large, deeply entrenched, and therefore extremely powerful. It is working to achieve absolute and brutal rule over the entire human race by using wars, depressions, inflations, and revolutions to further its aims. The conspiracy's one unchanging purpose has been to destroy all religion, all existing governments, and all traditional human institutions, and to build a new world order. Yes, Notebook LM. It's by Google. Notebooklm.google.com. Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I imagine that they're going to paywall it. They're going to make it pay to use. But while it's experimental, you can use it for free. So I say go wild on it while you can use it for free. I haven't encountered any, paywalls or anything yet. So he goes on to say, he says, notice that if the conspiracy does exist, it will do everything it can to deny the charges of both those who seek to expose it and those who claim to have been a part of it. So that's the root of the issue. It really boils down to the esoteric versus the exoteric. And for those of you that don't know, simply put, it's very easy to understand. The exoteric, with an X, EXO, meaning outer, or that which the majority of people know. That's all it means, nothing special, just whatever the majority of people know. Then you have the esoteric, which means inner, and that which the minority of people know. And that's it. That's all it means. So there are things that everyone knows. There are things that very few people know, and that's what it goes on to say. If this conspiracy does exist, then most people are not going to know about it, because as we've already established, most people just listen to what they're told. That's been proven. The Milgram experiment proves this. I imagine if you were to rerun that experiment, and I wonder if anyone has. I should have looked into that, but if anyone's rerun that experiment in the modern times, I only imagine that number would be closer to 80%. I mean, the education system has done that. They just ruled against the EPA. A judge just ruled against the EPA for conspiracy theorists were right all along. The fluoride in the water is most likely, possibly lowering children's IQs, which I believe, because I'm 25. I'm glad I'm out of the education system, because it was crazy when I was in it, but it's worse now. Most kids, let's say 5th grade, they're reading 3 grade levels below where they should be. I find people online, I try to strike up a conversation, they can't even be bothered to read, let alone write more than 1 paragraph of text. I'll write out a paragraph and they'll be like, that's too much to read. I'm not going to read that. Again, guys, we live in a fallen world, but we do have each other. We have to lean on each other. And it is the good individuals that you meet in your life that make it worth it. That's the truth. So let's see. Let me find where I left off. It will do everything it can to deny the charges of both those who seek to expose it and those who claim to have been a part of it. Here are those, perhaps not knowing the importance of their contributions to the study of the conspiracy, who have added estimates of the size of this ruling group. One was Walter Rethnow, who in 1909 controlled German General Electric. He said, quote, 300 men, all of whom know one another, direct the economic destiny of Europe and choose their successors from among themselves, unquote. Another informed observer, Joseph Kennedy, the father of the late President John Kennedy, identified the number of individuals who run America. He said, quote, 50 men have run America, and that's a high figure. Very interesting. Worked in the dental field for 35 years and cringed over fluoride. Yeah, I mean, people have God, they owe the conspiracy theorists an apology. They really do. But I obviously know they're never going to get it. But yeah, people have said it for 30 years, longer than I've been. However long fluoride's been in water, they've said, guys, probably not a good idea. But conspiracy theorists, it's probably not even just fluoride. Probably all the chemicals in the food. Our food's banned in every other country, so and the agriculture and the pesticides. Guys, I haven't tried it myself, but James created Elite Potion. If you guys are able to support him and get some of it, he swears by it. He says it works. I've looked up the ingredients. I've done some research on it because I was curious. So I endorse his product. I trust James. If he says it works, I believe him. So if you can support him, check out Elite Potion. He didn't actually send me the new ad spot, so that's going to be the mini commercial for Elite Potion. Give it a shot. I'm sure that it works as well as he says it does. Let's see. Okay, now we're on to another perspective. It was included in the same book, but it cites Dr. Carroll Quigley, who is a professor of history at Georgetown University, which is a Jesuit university, foreign service school, and who formerly taught at Princeton and Harvard. They've written a 1,300-page book titled, Tragedy and Hope. I've heard of that before. This book, published in 1966, was, according to the author, a result of 20 years of research into the conspiracy. So a quote from Quigley: there does exist and has existed for a generation an international Anglophile network which operates to some extent in the way the radical right believes the Communist Act. Again, this was, during the Red Scare. In fact, this network, which we may identify as the Round Table groups, has no aversion to cooperating with the communists or any group, and frequently does so. They invented it. I know of the operations of this network because I have studied it for 20 years and was permitted for 2 years in the early 1960s to examine its papers and secret records. Just remember, if this person went to Georgetown, we should definitely at least kind of consider what they're saying. Chances are they were probably giving some accurate information, but in my opinion, they've probably misled some people a little bit. Quigley took it a step none of the exposers have publicly taken. He admits that he is a supporter of the conspiracy. There it is. I didn't even read that part, but there it is. He is a supporter of the conspiracy he has written about. I have no aversion to it or most of its aims, and have for much of my life been close to it, many of its instruments. I have objected both in the past and recently to a few of its policies, but in general my chief difference of opinion is that it wishes to remain unknown, and I believe its role in history is significant enough to have it be known. At least you tell the truth. I mean, I'd rather him tell the truth than lie. Okay, the motives behind the conspiracy. So we're back to A. Ralph Epperson. The ultimate purpose of this conspiracy is power. There are some who desire this more than even material goods, although two frequently go together. One such individual, the previously mentioned Joseph Kennedy, family admirer and author Pearl Buck, wrote the following in her book, The Kennedy Women. Quote, Rose Kennedy, the wife of Joseph Kennedy, knew that the man she loved a power beyond the power of money. He wanted the power of government, and he would have it. Unquote. The conspiracy that Dr. Quigley and others saw then needs conspirators, and it is logical to ask why illustrious men on me. My headphones went off on me. It is logical to ask why illustrious men of wealth and fortune would, let's see, lost my spot, would join such an enterprise. One who answered this question was author Blair Cohn, who wrote in his book, The Red Web. The answer is quite the reverse of the question. These men who were involved in the conspiracy became illustrious primarily because they were part of the conspiracy. Again, back to George Carlin, it's a big club and we're not in it. So those involved do become rich and or illustrious, uh, do not become rich and or illustrious and then join the conspiracy. They become rich and illustrious because they are members of the conspiracy. So goes along with what I've told people for a long time. Uh, you can have, you get a choice. You can have your soul, or you can have all the money and power in the world, but you can't have both. You're never going to be able to have both. But what is their motive? What prompts men to seek wealth and position? Former Congressman John Smits explains that there is an additional goal: power. Men join the conspiracy to gain money and then power. Smits wrote, when a person has all the money he needs, his goal becomes power. That's true. Benjamin Franklin explained this connection between money and power when he said, quote, there are two passions which have a powerful influence on the affairs of men. These are the love of power and the love of money. When united, they have the most violent effects. Unquote. However, power itself has a corrupting influence on those who seek it. In an oft-quoted truth, Lord Acton explains power as thus, quote, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, unquote. Epperson continues, those who seek power will be corrupted by it. They will be willing to intentionally cause depressions, revolutions, and wars in order to further their desire for more power. This corrupting nature of the very pursuit of power explains why the moral mind of the individual who neither desires power over others nor understands the desire for such power cannot fathom why power seekers would want to create human misery through wars, depressions, and revolutions. In other words, the conspirators are successful because the moral citizen cannot accept the conclusion that the other individuals would actually wish to create incredibly destructive acts against their fellow citizens. That right there is very understated. A lot of people don't understand that all the way. Uh, it, it's only, you know, I imagine that, the satanic sacrifices and ritual abuse, that's been around forever. At least the time of the Bible, or thousands of years before. So a lot of these things people can't, people like you and I, those are not things we can even conceptualize within our own mind. It's not something you and I could even dream up if we wanted to. It's just not possible for us. People who have some decency about them, they just can't conceptualize those things. That's why it's so hard for people to accept that it's happening. You know, oh, the people in Hollywood are, sacrificing children. Well, let's just say they're sodomizing uh, teen stars like P Diddy, like Epstein, like Harvey Weinstein, like all of these people. Oh, of course they're not doing that, and until you find out that they are. Uh, which, I've seen the memes and something like, "Oh, we told you this was happening a long time ago. It's not like we're surprised when this news is coming out about all these people getting busted. None of us are surprised. We've known this has been going on for a long time." Uh, it's so much worse than any of us can even imagine. I mean, I've listened to information on the ritual abuse, talked to survivors, just listened to interviews, and I've had the pleasure to talk to some of them personally. And if you've ever had a close friend come to you, doesn't matter, just someone who's a serious close friend, and tell you about something traumatic that happened to them, if you could pick up on body language, you can see the genuine trauma, stress, pain in their eyes. You can see it. You can see that they're telling the truth. And I've seen that in all these people. So, unfortunately, I guess in a perfect world, maybe we all would wish that they were lying, because that would mean that it's not happening, but it is happening. So they're telling the truth. I believe them. And to a certain extent, some of the things these people say, if you wanted to come up with something, you wouldn't even come up with that because it sounds so outlandish. Nobody would believe it. So the fact that they're telling us these things, it's so far beyond comprehension. It's so far beyond comprehension. The technology that they have now, in my estimates, conservative estimate, 10 to 20 years, that's just bare minimum. That's me being safe, not going crazy. Oh yeah, Imagination Podcast. I've talked to them before. They're good. Emma's great. She's done a great service to all the people she's interviewed. A lot of interesting people she gets to talk to. Um, but yeah, I mean, people need we listen. The way that I view it is that we owe it to these people. If they could survive this stuff that they've been through, if they can lift themselves out of it, at least we could do is listen to what they have to say, be aware that it's happening. Of course, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, every single person who's in Hollywood is bad. No, I mean, you just got to have common sense. Not everyone in any of these industries is horrible, but the ones that are bad, the very few, they're evil people. And listen, I'm torn on the whole reptilian conspiracy theory. Honestly, here's the truth. I don't know what the hell's real anymore. We've got two moons in the sky now. Uh, uh, we've got uh, people saying the sun looks different. People think the Earth is flat. People don't know what's real, what's fake anymore. That's the truth, in my opinion. I don't know much more other than that. I don't know if there's one moon, two moons, three moons. I don't know what the sun looked like. Maybe I just took me 25 years for me to realize what the sun looked like. I don't know if I could. Am I supposed to see the moon all day long now? I thought the moon went away during the day. I don't know. I have no clue what's real, fake anymore. So I stay perfectly impartial. Don't believe anything too much. Uh, I always get this quote wrong. I guess it was Edgar Allan Poe who coined it. Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. I think that's how it goes. Yeah, so anything I see, if I see it with my own eyes, I'll believe it halfway. So probably sucks that it has to be that way, but things are just crazy anymore. You wake up, you turn on the news, and the things that they, it's crazy. I have no clue. I don't even know what to think anymore. I'm just left with no words. Let's see. Back to the article. I'm going to finish this quote off. Have I been to the moon? Which one? There's going to be three moons up. I don't know if the moon's real. I don't know if it's a hologram. I don't know if space is real. I don't know if the Earth's flat, round, ring. I don't even know if I'm on Earth. I don't even know. Might be a whole different planet. They might have lied to us. I'm starting to see that they flipped the compass. Originally it was south at the top, north at the bottom, and that's the next conspiracy theory I've heard. Hey, I mean, listen, unfortunately, I can't in good conscience call even the flat earth people, I can't call them fully crazy, because if you sit there and you listen to them for a minute, they can start to make a good point. But at the end of the day, have a hard time believing that one, because to get something that big covered up, and then all of the mathematics that we use to calculate astrology that's been used forever, all of that is trigonometric in nature. It's based on the globe model. I have a hard time believing the Earth's flat, but listen, I truly I have no clue anymore. It could be, for all I know. Yeah, people are saying the sun is a different color. People are, I don't know. I have no clue. Yeah, I mean, someone I was talking to said, have we always been able to see the moon during the day? And yeah, sure as shit, you look up to the sky during the day and you can kind of see the moon. And I'm sitting here thinking, have I just not noticed that? Has it always been like that? I don't know. But at the end of the day, I just watched 1984 with a friend of mine, and that's a loaded movie. The one from 1984, uh, and the main character's job is to edit history and to change history. So if Big Brother said it would rain and it didn't rain, his job was to go and change the newspaper so that whatever Big Brother said was what actually happened. And throughout the movie, there's this voice that'll come over the intercom or whatever, and if you notice, they're saying they're presenting the news that we know that the characters changed, uh, and it's sickening. That movie is sickening to watch because of how true and accurate it is in hindsight. All these years later, uh, eerie. It's eerie. But you have for instance, one that I can say that this I can say with relative certainty: the Fruit of the Loom absolutely had a cornucopia on the logo. People have pulled some old records from the archives, I think the Wayback Machine or something, and they did find it on some old patent or something. And something's going on. I think it's a psyop. I think the government is trying to see how far they can change things um, before people notice. Just they're trying to see how far they can push this. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's entirely possible. Um, like I said, I have no clue. I'm just I'm firmly out on relatively anything anymore, and I know that's probably not ideal. I mean, I wish it weren't like that. I wish we had some rock hard something to know, but in my opinion, objective truth is the word, the term, the idea true. You can adjust it for different languages, whatever true is, veritas, verdad, whatever you want to say. But the only objective truth is the word true, in my opinion. So let me finish this excerpt off. I'm gonna play some ads for you. I'm gonna take maybe a minute intermission, grab a drink because my throat's getting a little dry. I've been rambling on. Let's see. Another power seeker, the Russian anarchist Bakunin, explained that this process of corruption even affected those dedicated to freedom, who were given power to protect the powerless. He wrote, quote, "The possession of power transformed into a tyrant even the most devoted friend of liberty," unquote. The delight in the possession of power over others was explained by another observer of the power seeking, Joseph Kennedy. Quote, "I like Joe Kennedy. He understands power. Power is the end. What other delight is there but to enjoy the sheer sense of control? He would say, quote, inside quote, let me see any other motive in the people who command," unquote. So the motive of the conspirators has been identified. It is power. Yeah, Boots, thank you. We appreciate your service. We appreciate everyone's service. Um, in my opinion, I think it's a great disservice what's been done to all of the men and women who served, because we all know what the wars are about. And unfortunately, what happens is so many people go in with pure intentions, wanting to do the right thing, and they come out figuring out the hard way what war is really about and what the ends are. So yeah, a lot of people lose a lot, and it's a damn shame that we don't take better care of the people who serve. Um, just look at the God, what is it, 500,000 illegal migrants that have come in. Why are we taking better care of these people who've just come in here illegally than we do veterans? That's severely messed up in my opinion. Um, really, I I would argue that most people who serve, almost all of them, come out with a little bit of bad blood towards their government, because they know that they've been misused. They know that they've been lied to a certain extent. But yeah, what you guys do is really um, hardcore. It's intense. Probably not something that I could do, but yeah, a lot of people have lost friends. They've lost time. They've lost limbs, and we ought to do more for them. That's the truth. Guys, we're going to take like I said, a short minute pause. I'm going to grab a drink. I'm going to play an ad for the Flame. Get that in there. Then we'll finish up this article. And if we have a little couple minutes left, I'll play you some clips that I found that are interesting. But stay tuned, guys. We'll be back in just a moment.
If you're looking for a publication that delivers honest takes and critical insights into the issues of our day, then look no further than the Flame Paper. The Flame Paper is written for the people, by the people, who aren't afraid to challenge a mainstream narrative, be it healthcare, voter fraud, political correctness, or even the one world government. The Flame is full of timely articles, reports, and expert advice written by freedom-loving, truth-telling experts, journalists, and concerned citizens. To subscribe, go to theflameusa.com.
Alrighty, guys, we're back. Um, that was it for the excerpts, and then the end here was just a little breakdown summary of the two views. So we talked about their two primary views to history: the accidental view, which we would call the coincidence theorist view, and the conspiratorial view. In The Unseen Hand, by A. Ralph Epperson, the author explores two distinct perspectives on how historical events unfold: the accidental view and the conspiratorial view of history. These perspectives offer contrasting interpretations of the forces that shape our world, providing a framework for understanding how people might view the same events differently. So for the accidental view of history, suggests that events happen largely by chance or as a result of a series of unrelated actions and decisions by coincidence. Proponents of this view believe that history is the outcome of random occurrences, mistakes, human error, and the natural progression of societal and political dynamics. Key characteristics: randomness. History is seen as a series of unplanned events. Wars, revolutions, and major societal changes are often viewed as the result of random occurrences or the unpredictable actions of individuals. Human error and misjudgment. Mistakes made by leaders, governments, and individuals are central to this perspective. History is full of miscalculations, unforeseen circumstances, and unintended outcomes. Evolutionary process. Society is seen as evolving naturally over time, influenced by cultural, economic, and technological factors that are largely beyond human control. Innocent intentions. When powerful individuals or groups are involved, their actions are generally seen as well intentioned, even if they result in negative consequences. The implications. The implications of the accidental view of history: trust in institutions. Those who adhere to the accidental view are more likely to trust that governments and institutions are doing their best to manage the complexities of the world, even if they sometimes fail. Downplay of conspiracy. This view tends to downplay the idea that hidden agendas or secret plots are responsible for major events in history. Instead, it attributes outcomes to more mundane factors like incompetence, chance, or unforeseen circumstances. So, this is a really interesting debate because while I am convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt, I mean, I at this point I'm 98% certain that the conspiracy theorists are definitely onto something. I mean, there's too much evidence, too many books, too much to prove that there is, uh, like Epperson says, there is a conspiracy, and at the highest levels, it is organized, and these people are evil. Um, you know, a part of me wants to at least hope that maybe they're not literally talking to Satan himself. But again, it would certainly seem that way because the evil that these people are capable of, you can't describe it. There's certain evils, and I've even seen it in my own life. There are certain evils that inhabit people that you just can't describe other than satanic. I mean, what takes over a parent and makes them sexually assault their own child? What force of nature is that? What do you call that? You can't. I can't rationalize that other than to say that that's a fundamentally negative, evil force of nature that people have called Satan. Um, it has many names, but yeah, call him whatever you want. It's just evil. But on the other hand, I do believe that we probably do overestimate it to a certain extent. It wouldn't surprise me if, us conspiracy theorists, and yeah, okay, to a certain extent, not everything that we talk about is 100% true. We probably do over exaggerate it to a certain extent. I bet a lot of what we think is part of the conspiracy. A lot of it may very well be chalked up to incompetence, stupidity, laziness. That's reasonable to assume, but maybe it's not. I am kind of under the impression, and I don't know. I'm under the impression that in this technological age, they've been able to. I guess you could call it game theory. They've been able to game theory strategize this stuff out so well that if one thing doesn't go over well or something fails, they have a whole network of outcomes based on that failure. So a lot of like FDR said, if something happens in the government, it's probably been planned that way to a certain extent. Think about it. does anyone in the chat make $500,000 a year to go and come up with let's see, come up with these stupid policies that they've got in retail stores? For instance, the self checkout machines that ask people for a damn tip. A self checkout machine asking someone for a tip, and you already know that whoever figured that up at the corporate headquarters is making $500,000 a year easy. They show up to work, come up with something so stupid as asking for a tip on a self checkout machine. They get paid $500,000, and most of us are struggling to eat. So these people get paid enough that they better damn well plan. If they don't plan, then they got a problem. At least I would expect that much for $500,000 a year if I'm paying somebody that much. So we overestimate it probably to a certain degree, but yeah, I'm entirely convinced that I don't believe that we're crazy for thinking that there's an organized effort to strip us of our rights, to form a new world order, um, etc. We wouldn't be here if we did. Well, again, I'll say it again because it's important. You have a choice. You can have your soul, or you can have all the money and the power in the world that you want. And that's the true meaning of a Faustian bargain of selling your soul. Um, that's what it is. I mean, it happens in varying degrees. Forgive me for being obscene here, but the way that I've come to understand it is that Satan in anyone's life is whatever they allow to fuck them in the ass, literally or metaphorically. Uh, for instance, let's say I'm an alcoholic and I allow alcohol to ruin my life, to ruin my relationship, to destroy my family, to make me a person that I don't like, well then I wager that I've allowed alcohol to fuck me in the ass. Um, the Bible calls this paying the price of the dog, paying the dog's price. And look at what P Diddy had going on. Sodomy is the first sacrament of Satan. That's profound if you understand the implications of that. Sodomy is the first sacrament of Satan. That's why Crowley taught that you could gain power by sodomizing young boys. That's why the Catholic priests do it. Um, it's a power thing. Uh, it's a way to control somebody. So Satan in anyone's life is whatever they allow to fuck them in the ass. Uh, Profound if you understand what I just said. So let me finish this article. The second is the conspiratorial view of history. In contrast, the conspiratorial view of history posits that events are the result of deliberate actions by powerful individuals or groups who manipulate circumstances to achieve their goals. According to this view, history is not a series of accidents, but rather a carefully orchestrated narrative driven by hidden agendas. Key characteristics: deliberate manipulation. Historical events are seen as the product of intentional efforts by a small, often secretive group of individuals who seek to control or influence global events. Hidden agendas. There is the belief that behind the scenes, powerful entities, whether they are governments, secret societies, or influential elites, or aliens, fallen angels, whatever you want to call them, are pulling the strings to shape history according to their own interest. Suspicion of official narratives. This perspective is characterized by skepticism towards official explanations of events. Conspiratorial thinkers often believe the truth is being concealed from the public. Absolutely. I believe what's really going on is absolutely concealed from the public. Absolutely. No question in my mind. They connect the dots between seemingly unrelated occurrences to reveal a hidden plan or conspiracy. Implications. Distrust of authority. People who subscribe to this view are likely to be more suspicious of governments, media, and other institutions. They may believe that these entities are complicit in hiding the truth. Focus on elites. The conspiratorial view often focuses on the role of elites, whether financial, political, or intellectual. and steering historical events to serve their own purposes, often at the expense of the general population. Alternative explanations. This perspective encourages the exploration of alternative explanations for historical events, often leading to the questioning of widely accepted narratives. Comparison and analysis. Agency versus chance. The key difference between these views lies in the role of human agency. The accidental view emphasizes randomness and unintended consequences, while the conspiratorial view stresses deliberate actions by those in power. Perception of events. Someone who holds the accidental view might see war as the result of diplomatic failures and misunderstandings, while a conspiratorial thinker may think the same war as the result of a premeditated plan by a cabal of elites seeking to achieve specific goals. Influence on worldview. These perspectives shape how individuals interpret current events in history. The accidental view fosters a more trusting, perhaps optimistic outlook, while the conspiratorial view can lead to suspicion and a belief that nothing is as it seems. And then the conclusion. This is just a summary that I got Google Gemini to do based on the excerpts. Epperson's distinction between the two views provide insight into the varying ways people understand history and the forces that shape it. Whether one believes in the accidental or conspiratorial view can profoundly influence their interpretation of past events and their perspective on current affairs. Understanding these views helps explain why debates about historical interpretation can be so contentious, as they often reflect deeper beliefs about the nature of power, control, and human agency. And that's the end of the article. So, as always, as I've talked about on some of the other shows that I've done here, it's important to understand and evaluate both of them realistically, because it's always a mix of both. It's never so simple as just being one or the other. Here's a thought exercise. Each and every one of you, just think back, in your life about something that was really hard at the time, something that hurt or just sucked when you were going through it. If you look back at it now, for the most part, it's almost a shade of gray. It's not good, but it's not all the way bad as it seemed either. So things in objective hindsight, whatever you want to call it, they're always a shade of gray. It's a little bit of both, and that's important to understand. Yeah, there probably is a conspiracy going on at the high levels. I don't know how many people. I don't know what percentage of people. And a lot of people are really just scratching backs. That's what it is. Blackmail. Oh, I helped you out. You helped me out. Oh, I know a guy who knows a guy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Being a parent, having a child. Absolutely. Perfect example. Um, there are good and bad times. So everything is a shade of gray. I mean, that's the way that I see it. Um, for instance, everyone's made mistakes. I've made my share of mistakes. I'm young, but I've made mistakes. But at the same time, I don't regret them all the way, because they've brought me to this point that I'm at right now. Everything I've done in my life has brought me to this point right now. So I can't really discount turning left and not right, or right and not left. Everything matters to a certain extent. I mean, I'm confident of that. Everything is intertwined on an energy level. I mean, your body is just a, a set of vibrating energy grids. Now they're talking about quantum physics and string theory and stuff like that. They say a certain particle is just a specific energy pattern. If you look at cymatics, it's very akin to cymatics. I mean, a proton is just a specific energy grid with a specific set of frequencies or whatever. I mean, I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. I don't know. I wish I could understand it more. I haven't taken the time to really read into it, but it's very advanced. Reality is always stranger than fiction. Always stranger than fiction. Um, yeah, it's everything mirrors that same understanding. I mean, everything is connected. I believe that. I believe everything is connected. The Earth is an ecosystem. I mean, all the bugs and the plants have a role to play. just because spiders, some people like them, some people don't. They have a role to play in the earth. They were created for a reason. So, let's see. We're about an hour and 13 minutes in. I'm just going to show you some clips that I found. We're going to watch just a few random clips, comment on them. Some of them are pretty funny. Some of them are kind of memes or whatnot. But we'll just play some clips for you and lighten the mood and whatnot. This one's pretty funny. I got to play this one. I had to cue this up to play. So somebody made this with the beauty of AI, and they've actually got old Netanyahu to tell the truth about what he's really doing. Check this out, guys.
Benjamin Netanyahu, the Freddy Krueger of Gaza. The school shooter, heavyweight champion of the world. The man's killed a lot of kids.
My friends, the terrorist state of Israel want Palestinian civilians to die. Every man, woman, and child in Gaza. Israel's soldiers are deliberately targeting civilians. They fire rockets at schools, hospitals, mosques. They even shoot Palestinian women and children when they try to leave the war zone. Israel is deliberately starving the people of Gaza, all of them. We win, they lose. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership. I thank President Biden for the bombs and for being, as he says, a proud Zionist. Actually, he says a proud Irish-American Zionist. May God bless the great alliance between Israel and America forever.
USA, how many kids did we kill today?
I shouldn't be smiling because it's so messed up, because it's like, I mean, I wish it was just a joke, but like at least somebody edit it. Like, it's funny because normally people, they'll use AI to make it fake but funny, but they've used AI to make it real, and unfortunately it's funny because of the AI part, but it's not funny that it's actually happening. God, what they're doing to those people. The only solace that I think we'll have is that history will remember. History will remember, and it will not be kind. And I would not want to be Netanyahu on the day of judgment, because he's probably going to be remembered the same way Hitler was. Honestly, that's the truth. He's got something brewing for him. Let's see. I don't know. I'm thinking. You guys, again. Let me just recap. James is gone tonight and tomorrow. He'll be back Tuesday. So I'll be with you again tomorrow night. I don't know what we're going to do for the show tomorrow night. I haven't decided on a subject. So be prepared for anything. Just whatever pops into my mind, whatever I'm interested in tomorrow, I'll bring it to you. I'll tell you what I got. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. I know some people are impartial on Alex Jones, but when I think, my opinion, I'll give you my opinion. I think Jones thinks he's doing the right thing, but I think that he's got some snakes in the garden, if you understand what I'm saying. I think he's being misled, but I think he thinks that he's doing the best thing that he knows to do. But the reason I brought that up is because of this old clip of him. It's a meme. I'll show it to you guys.
Hey, what do you think of the Cowboys? What do you think of this?
Yeah, did you see the simulated combat on TV? Yeah, I watched it. A bunch of rich gladiators that could care less about me. Did you see it? Yeah, I'm empty too. Yeah, I did. I fill my head with facts and figures that don't matter instead of learning the political system and standing up for myself. And I'm not saying sports are bad in and of themselves if you're involved in it, but not when it's your whole focus. It's always the same. They're like androids. They have like a little fake conversations. So, what do you think of the playoffs? What do you think of the weather? Oh, yeah. And you start bringing up, I don't know, what do you think of the surveillance grid going in? Have you heard about how they're listening to all of us without warrants? They're like, well, gee, buddy, what you bringing that up for? That's kind of weird. Well, it is weird they're doing it. It's very dangerous. Well, I don't care. I'm not involved in politics. I don't have to worry about that, Mac. Oh, really? They're putting the grid in place to rob you, you fat.
He's funny. I mean, I don't care. He's funny. He's pretty funny sometimes. Here's the last clip I queued up for you guys. Good old Bill Cooper. Maybe we'll cover some of his stuff tomorrow. I assume you guys know who Bill Cooper is. Maybe we'll cover some of the stuff from his book. Maybe we'll see how right he was all those years back. I listened to some of the episodes of his radio show, and all those years ago, back in the 1990s when that was going on, everything he was saying, all of it, we're watching it right now, literally right now in modern times. Everything he said. Yeah. Here we go. Let's watch this little clip.
I know men who don't know anything in the world except who plays third base for the Mets. And they think that's a great accomplishment. And they meet and pat each other on the back and bond and go have cocktails and talk about what this guy that plays third base for the Mets did in last night's game. Sad. It's really sad. When 150 of the most powerful men and women in the world can meet in secret in Baden-Baden, Germany, can plot the fate of billions, and nobody even cares about it. But 6 football players go to lunch together, and it's in the headlines across the country. You have a reflection of the society in which that exists. And it is a sick, sick society that is doomed to self-destruction. A nation of people who are willing to send their sons and daughters that they profess that they love to a foreign country to die. And they use the excuse to themselves that they're sending them off to defend our country, and they know damn well that's a lie. Are doomed.
Yeah, man was on some wisdom. He knew. He knew, and they got it. They got him right after he predicted 9/11, right, live on the radio. They got him. They took him out. But it's eerie. You know, you go back and he did I guess it was like a mini series called Mystery Babylon, and it's actually the second episode. This is the second episode of that mini series. He opens and he says, by sharing this information, I've sealed my fate. And that he sure as hell did. He did seal his fate. But I think he did a great service to the movement. He outlined what these people believe, the mystery religion. He outlined how they think about things. He did a lot of research. Oh, that's a great question. Great question. You know what? Okay. One moment. I'll give you my thoughts, but that made me think of this clip. So let me cue this up, play it for you.
I also convened my entire cabinet as part of a whole of government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary we're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it.
Papaw Joe said it best. We're going to increase the intensity and number of extreme weather events. So in response to your question, It's possible. Listen, James just did an episode. I'm sure you guys were there and you saw it. The C40 50-minute or 15-minute smart city plan that they've got all these mayors signed on to. So it's a very simple idea. Uh, just destroy the towns, bring in a hurricane, a earthquake, a wildfire, blow the whole damn thing away, and they'll be there to build your 15-minute smart city, aka Plantation 2.0. So I think it's possible. I mean, I can't say, but there are hundreds of patents for weather modification, HARP, older than most people think too. So sure, yeah, it's possible. I will say this, you know, again, 25 years old, but it would certainly seem like the past maybe 5 years, I've seen more hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires, tsunami. I've seen more of them than I ever feel like I have before. So I don't know. Maybe it's climate change. Maybe it's HARP. Either of those two options don't sound good to me, but it would certainly suck if it is because listen to what Joe Biden said. We're going to increase the number and intensity, so they're going to get worse of extreme weather events. I don't know. At this point, they are accelerating the plan. Uh, guys, I mean, I'm pretty sure I presented this to you briefly. It would seem that what's going on is that they're driving us towards a cliff. I mean, everyone's kind of got this in their head, but they're driving us towards a cliff. They need to raise the anxiety level. They need to bring us and put us on edge. So that's why you've got all these school shootings. That's why you've got all of these assassination attempts on Trump, and they're going to shoot his plane down, and they've got kill teams and bounties out on it. That's why all this is happening. It's because, you know, they're going to raise the anxiety level. They're going to, from what I understand, there's going to be some event, and unfortunately, I think it's going to happen this election day, maybe even before it. There's going to be some event that's going to act as the trigger. So you got to pull the hammer back, and then you pull the trigger. So there's going to be a trigger event, and once that happens, they will uh, take all of us. You and I will be returned to slavery through Armageddon. That's the plan. Just make shit go wild until we bow down and pray that they stop it. So I don't know. I think it's not by accident that uh, I wanted to not say it, but it really does almost seem like it started around the time Trump entered the scene. When Trump came on the scene in 2015, things have just gone crazy since then. People are so divided. People can't get along anymore. It's like people have forgotten. And again, I'm young, but I grew up being told, there are certain things you don't discuss religion, you don't discuss politics because a lot of people disagree over those things. And, you don't want to disagree with people that you care about. So just leave it out. You don't got to talk about it. If you guys agree, okay. But if you guys don't, just don't bring it up. It's like people have forgotten that. People just lost that. People can't agree on anything anymore. And people can't even agree to disagree anymore. That's the real problem. Is that people cannot agree to disagree anymore. And that is Armageddon programming. Accept me as I tell you, or I'm going to cancel you. I'm going to get mad at you. I'm going to, fight you. That's been set up for a long time. But I think Trump was the nail in the coffin there. It's only gotten worse too. Love him or hate him. Uh, I don't know. I mean, listen, absolutely. I think Trump is absolutely a better option than Harris. For the sole for if only one reason, the immigration problem. I mean, if that's not under control, you and I just it don't matter what color you are, it don't matter where you're from. You and I, as American citizens, are going to be second class citizens in our own country. It's going to be illegals first and American citizens second. And again, that has nothing to do with race. I don't care what color you are, what country you come from. It's just going to be the people who are not even citizens of this country are going to come first, and the people who are citizens and pay the damn taxes come second. So that's probably why I will probably vote for Trump. I mean, I don't care to tell you guys who I'm voting for. Uh, in my opinion, if the vote even counts, I hear that it's probably just going to be rigged. I mean, if you go on to Snapchat, for instance, Snapchat AI, people are asking the Snapchat AI, they're like, pretend it's 2026. Who won the election in 2024? And it's like, oh, Kamala Harris wins the election in 2024 with an electoral vote of 300 something. It's like everyone's saying, oh, all these predictions are coming out. Oh, Kamala Harris is going to win. If she wins, it's the election system's done. People are going to know it's a sham. People are going to know it's a scam, that it's not accurate, that it's rigged, your vote don't count. In my best estimates, our votes are only worth 30 to 40% of what we think they are. So, if in a perfect system, our votes were effective 100%, one vote is one vote. Our votes are probably worth one of our votes is probably worth, what did I say? 4, 6 fake votes. Here we, hey, I'm with you. Yeah, I don't either. I mean, ain't like any. Listen, people that I know who are going through a hard time, who by all means should get a little bit of help from their government, can't get it. But these people who are coming in, they're getting phones, meals, hotels, subsidies to buy a house. It's just ass backwards. And then you find out, yeah, true. Sucking on the glass dick. I like that. Uh, uh, yeah, these, it's a mess. It's a mess. And then you find out, if you do just a little tiny bit of research, it's not hard. Well, it's not hard to find. I have a court document. So, I confirmed authenticity. It is an accurate court document. The United States government, and it's in the document. It says, and this is so they, someone filed a court document against the government. The government counters these arguments, and they counterclaim it. And in response to one of the claims, they say the U.S. The government denies that the IRS is a agency of the U.S. government, but they do confirm that the IRS is a proper party to the action. So the IRS is, and Bill Cooper did some research on this. I imagine that they've obfuscated the laws and changed some of the laws around, but the IRS isn't even affiliated with the government. It's at least it was in the 90s. It's a trust run out of Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rico Special Fund, Internal Revenue in quotes or in parentheses. It's run out of Puerto Rico, and it's owned by anonymous trustees. So who the hell are we paying our income tax to? I mean, it's either the bankers in Great Britain or the Vatican, because Puerto Rico, heavily Catholic under canon law. Yeah, who the hell are these trustees? Why can't we know who owns the Federal Reserve? Why can't we know who owns the IRS? where are our taxes going? It's already been clearly stated that, people say, "Oh, I pay my taxes for the road." Your taxes don't go to the fucking roads. They don't. Maybe your local taxes do, maybe, but your income taxes don't go to no fucking roads. They go to Israel. They go to Ukraine. They go to anywhere but America. Anywhere but America and American citizens. I'm laughing. That's the only reaction I got. It would be funny if it wasn't true. Anywhere but America, that's where your taxes go. As long as it ain't American citizen, veteran, United States infrastructure. As long as it's none of those things, they'll give you money. They'll throw you money, 200 billion every month to Israel, $80 billion every couple months to Ukraine. If you wake up in the morning and you look at what's going on in the world, and you don't think nothing dawns on you, God, they must have gotten you real good with that fluoride. Hey, I try so hard to try and forget, but we live in a fallen world. Hey, that's funny. I was just talking to somebody else about it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to speak with our wallets, and we are never, ever, ever going to prevail until we learn to work together. It is money laundering. It's absolutely money laundering. Absolutely money laundering. Because that money goes all the way over to Israel. Then it comes right back over here to the military industrial complex. It is money laundering. Clear and simple. It's a racket. It's a racket. First time I ever stepped foot in a courtroom, before any of the judge or anyone walked, they handed me a piece of paper. They already had it set up, everything that they wanted from me. They was like, "Here you go, sign this." They had it. They sit in the back room. All of them are butt buddies. They all drink. They're all Freemasons. They all sit there and shoot shit. I've sat there and watched them when the court was not packed. They all the people all of the court staff sit around and shoot shit. They talk about the stupid people that come through there. They laugh at it. They're all best friends, and the majority of them are secret society, fraternal order, police, Freemason. They know exactly what they're going to do with you before you even get there. They look at your record, they look at you, everything about you, and they figure out how much money they think they can get off you. And if they think that you're capable of paying, well, then they'll have you pay. But if you ever, why is it that people who've got these long rap sheets, why is it that they get OR bonded out of jail? They're out of jail. They're in and out. They don't keep the people who've broken into houses 20 times. They don't keep the people who got 500 drug distribution. They don't keep those people in jail. They kick them back out onto the roads. They're in and out. So it's because they know that they ain't good for no money. I mean, God love them, but they know that they ain't got no money. They can't make no money off them, so they're just not worth the time. But if it looks like you got a little tiny bit of money, they're gonna put you through the ringer. It's all of it's a scam. I hate that that's the way it is, but it's all a racket, a scam, a club. George Carlin, it's a club, and we're not in it. It's all a club. Yeah, dude, that's a rabbit hole to go down. How many members of Congress? How many of them you think are sitting there snorting cocaine, smoking crack? How many drinking? We already damn well know Nancy Pelosi sloshed all the damn time. How many? Because what are you gonna do? There ain't. What are you gonna do? So what do you think they're gonna get arrested? No. They're not going to get arrested. They're millionaires. They're just he'll be out 20 minutes. So, how many people in Congress do you think are like severely addicted to drugs? Probably, I don't know. Let's be real. 30 to 40% are functional addicts. Maybe 50% if you include people who just drink throughout the day. Yeah, this is tonight's show. We wrapped it up already. We're just kind of sitting here talking. I'm just rambling. I'll probably wrap it up here in about 5 minutes. Once this, you probably should be able to, rewind the show all the way back to the beginning if you want to watch it from the beginning. We covered the article on the veil between conspiracy theorists and coincidence theorists. But yeah, fallen world, fallen world. Yeah, we should. That'd be great. But you know, who's gonna make the law? Them? Have you guys heard about this mass casualty event that they're trying to? All of a sudden, they're talking now about a 29th Amendment, where, and I haven't researched this all the way. I'm just starting to hear about it, but something like if there's 100 members of Congress that die, so like if 100 or more members of Congress get taken out in like a mass casualty event, that they are not going to hold special elections, that there's going to be some new process to appoint 100 or more new members of Congress, and that some random official, I don't even know who this guy is. Maybe I'll, you know what? Maybe we'll do a show on that tomorrow. That would be a good subject, actually. Uh, it's weird. I don't know what the hell they're talking about, but hearing this divided Congress talk about a constitutional amendment, if they get that going, if they start moving on that, we need to be very vigilant, because if the Congress that can't agree on deporting rapists, because remember there are 100 or more Democrats voted against deporting all of the illegal immigrants who are convicted of sexual crimes. They voted against that. I think it still passed, but the 100 or so Democrats voted against it. It's fucking crazy. But if they can somehow get 2/3 of both houses and 3/4 of all states, if they can manage that, then we need to be very vigilant about what's going on, because I don't, it's very it's one of those things that's very specific. Like, why are we worried about 100 or more members of Congress dying, and why are we not going to have elections? And who is this guy? It's like some, seriously, I don't even, I've never heard of this government office before. It's like some emergency commander will take over it's like martial law, but I'm going to probably do a show on this tomorrow. I'll give you guys some information on it, maybe. Yeah, it's okay. There it is. The people in office leave a name of one to replace them. Something is fishy with this. I don't like the way this is looking, but I don't know. They talk about amendments all the time. It's very hard to amend the Constitution. Very hard to do. You need 2/3 of both houses of Congress to propose the amendment. And then you need 3/4 of all the state legislatures to ratify it. And there are actually some other pathways to it, but those have never been used. I knew them at one time. You can get a convention together, a ratification convention. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, again, James and I have talked about it. Seriously, we want to believe that there's white hats that have a little bit of control. I mean, we really want to believe it, but it's like seeing what we've seen and hearing what we've heard, and all of the technology and data that they're collecting on us. I just say we need to remain vigilant. I mean, don't don't give away your power too soon. You know, you can hope for it, but protect your peace, protect your power. Yeah, they're absolutely trying to do away with the Constitution. What the way that I've heard it framed is that they need to legally invalidate the Constitution. So there are 100 million ways they could do that. They need to legally invalidate the Constitution. So they need, for instance, you know, let's say Obama was a CIA asset, was born in a different country, was born in Kenya, which I've got recordings of Obama himself saying this, so it's not me saying that. There's recordings of Obama himself saying I was not born in America, I was born in Kenya. So if he's admitted that he was born in a different country, why have we not invalidated everything he did in office? Because the Constitution says you have to be an American citizen, born in America, to become president. So what they've done is they've kind of legally subverted, they've kind of legally invalidated at least that part of the Constitution. Because now there's if they really wanted to, they could do whatever they want. They could say that now there's legal precedent, because technically they could have a closed court hearing. They could do whatever they want. The law is whatever the hell they say it is. Simply put, the law is, any of you try to go to court and you try to tell the judge what the law is and see how well that goes for you. It don't matter at the end of the day what the law says. It's whatever the judge says the law is. That's what the law is. So, yeah, they've got to legally invalidate it. And guys, if we allow the Second Amendment, if we allow them to take our guns, it's over. One of the most profound quotes I heard, I wish I could, a lot of them just stick with me. I can't remember how they exactly go, but it's something like when the citizens have their guns, and the government tries to come for them, it's a revolution. When the citizens don't have their guns and the government comes for them, it's a genocide. So, yeah, I think it was Bill Cooper who said in his book, all the way back in the 80s and the 90s, he said that the government's going to import all of these guns, put them in the hands of criminals, use MK Ultra CIA brainwashing to get these crazy people to go and open fire on schools. That way that they can inflame the anti-gun people and convince people to give away their guns willingly. Okay, how the hell did he know this in the 1980s, 1990s? Okay, maybe, seriously, so come on now. That's exactly what's gone on, because there are people in California, New York, they've already given away their guns. Can't hardly get a concealed carry permit unless you submit a blood test, let them have your DNA, file so many different permits that you can't even see straight, and then you can have a BB gun. Come on now, it's ridiculous. Those would be the first states to fall too. Yep. Yep. Guys, it's see, we're about an hour and 47 minutes in. I'm on the East Coast, so it's about a quarter till 2 a.m. I'm gonna probably wrap it up here, guys. I've sat here and talked y'all to death long enough, and I think that about wraps it up for tonight. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we get going, or any last thoughts from the audience? I'll leave off with a quote, an interesting quote. At one point, I went into this, like, a gas station bathroom, and this quote was written up on the wall. And just because I read it and I liked it, it was a good quote, and I committed it to my memory. And I had went back to that same gas station, and it had been painted over, so it disappeared. Having remembered it, I plugged it into Google, and it turns out the quote was original. So I'll share it with you guys and put it out into the world. When confusion besets and you're lost once again, do not be drowned in sorrows, my friends, for life has a purpose, and it is as thus, that it may make us all whole. And this is all simply a thrust in the forge of the soul. It was a good quote. I guess whoever wrote that down came up with it on their own. But I've always remembered it. I think it's a small bit of comfort in these trying times. So if we work together, we do have a chance. But guys, they've spent trillions at this point, trillions and trillions of dollars probably trying to drive us apart, to make us not want to work together, to make us, and they've made us antisocial is what they've done. They really have. They've created a generation of sociopaths and psychopaths. Nobody's fault, I guess, whoever decided to do it. But for instance, violent video games, violent movies. The movies now are so they're just so, they have pushed the throttle full force. I mean, some of the movies that came out, I guess 20 years ago at this point, like you watch the new versions of these movies, they're just gruesome. I mean, they could get away with so much more than they used to be able to, but it just goes to show what's going on in society. I mean, violence, for instance, I'll show my grandparents something, and them being older, you can actually see that they react to it differently. They still have that less of an affinity for that type of thing. It's still a little startling to them. But yeah, I mean, all of this stuff has just made people so self-centered, narcissistic, antisocial, not able to work with other people. And the people who it's not done that to, it's just fried their brain. It is refreshing to find people who are capable of some critical thinking anymore. I mean, if you find the right group of people, you can actually have a old school, effective, fruitful conversation. But I try, guys. I try. I know all you guys do too. But it is hard dealing with some people now. I mean, go work in retail. Or there's a meme. It was like, how to prepare for eternity in hell. And it says, 1, work in retail, work in the service industry. Said it can help you prepare for hell having a background in the service industry. And having worked in the service industry is pretty damn accurate. You don't understand how stupid some people can be until you work in the service industry. But guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in and hanging out with me tonight. All the people that hang out with us, we are grateful for all of you guys. James and I both appreciate each and every one of you. Again, that quote that I God, that it sucks when you are Boots, I'm replying to you. It sucks when you have to find out that all the conspiracy theories are true. I'm thinking back, I mean, there was a point where I was like, I mean, I certainly hope that they're not eating children. Then I did some research and I found out that, yeah, they certainly are. Some people are. I don't know. I just hope deep down inside of me that it's not as many people as it could be. I don't know, but it might be. I don't know. Only God knows that one. But God has ordained evil to exist for a predetermined amount of time, immediately following which it'll be destroyed completely, called the second death. So Who knows? Who knows how long that'll be? We don't know what that predetermined amount of time is. But just getting ready to give my last remarks. I said, give your love away to others, because you'll find that you and they need it. And on the great day of judgment, when our hearts are weighed in the balance, we'll all be glad that we don't have hearts made of stone. But guys, I appreciate it. Thank you for joining in with me tonight. I will see you guys again tomorrow night. And that's it, guys. Have a good night, guys. Take care.